So it's just days after the Eagles collapse versus the Falcons, and the city of Philadelphia is in a panic, as Eagles fans are absolutely destroying this team for their Week 2 performance, starting with Nick Sirianni, as the fourth-year head coach has been ripped countless times due to his decision-making at various points in the game, and some have even called for his job just 2 weeks into the season. So is this all warranted? Meanwhile, the Eagles defensive line has also been called into question, with guys like Bryce Huff and Jordan Davis really struggling, and shockingly, star defensive tackle Jalen Carter has not only underperformed, but he was also apparently punished and benched for something that happened last week. And overall, the pass rush and run defense has just been awful, but Captain Brandon Graham recently revealed that the defensive line is taking it personally to get these things fixed. So can they do it? Well, we're going to talk about that and all the other latest Eagles news starting right now. Hey guys, welcome to the Philly Fan 21 channel. If you're new, I'm Evan and I cover all things Philadelphia Eagles. And let's start off with what I think is a really unfortunate loss for the Eagles roster-wise, as ahead of their last game against the Falcons, Howie Roseman and the Eagles went ahead and made a move to open up a roster spot so that they could call up backup offensive lineman Nick Gates from the practice squad, so they released their fourth-year edge rusher and former draft pick Patrick Johnson, probably with the hope that they could get him back, but unfortunately, things didn't play out that way, as the Giants scooped him up off waivers. And again, I think this is a bad loss. One, because even though Johnson isn't some great player or anything, he's been a solid depth piece at edge rusher and also a good special teams guy for the Eagles over the years who has made some plays. And two, because they also just lost him to a division rival, so that definitely stinks. And it's made even worse when you consider that probably the Eagles' biggest weakness as of right now is the edge rusher position. And a major reason for that is because the Birds' big offseason signing at that position in Bryce Huff has been an absolute zero through his first 2 games in Philly, as he has just 1 combined tackle and no other stats recorded in his first 2 games. And it goes beyond just the numbers, as just watching him, he looks absolutely horrible, both rushing the passer and against the run, so it's really been hard to remain positive and say that, well, it's only been 2 games, when Huff really just hasn't shown us anything to make us believe that he's gonna turn it around. Now, after the game on Monday night, Huff spoke to the media, and he talked about his lack of production despite the expectations, and he talked about what he's gonna have to do to get things right.
You mentioned, you know what they brought you here for. How do you try to manage a play in and play out, not to kind of feel that pressure in the games?
I mean, I control what I control. At the end of the day, I'm going to do everything I can in practice and the film to get home. So regardless of what pressure there might be, I'm going to attack my process as well as I can and really find ways to get better.
Bryce, you mentioned your arsenal. You wanted to bring out more moves to kind of help get things going. Why do you feel like you've maybe not been able to get things going in terms of using different stuff?
I just need to get my ducks in a row as far as what my process is on the edge. Not be so antsy just to earn the edge, know that I have to sit on my rushes with power. I need to work with my guys on the inside to get more pressure with a switch up, whether it's a game or a stun or some type of play that we can run to mix it up. And, I just need to do a better job in general of being locked in and being able to, I guess, offset what they've been trying to do with the chips and just do a better job in general.
I mean, you can't argue with Huff. He's saying all the right things and that he just has to find his rhythm within the system and get used to things and just adjust and all that and keep working hard. But it's still just hard to be optimistic when both he and the overall pass rush have just been so disappointing to start the year. And also, I mean, with the contract Huff was given this offseason, so I'm going to try my best to be patient. Huff does have talent, and it has been just 2 games, so maybe he can turn it around. But again, I'm not overly optimistic after those first 2 performances. And I'm also not overly optimistic about Jordan Davis after these 2 games, because I mean, just like Huff, he's really been invisible so far. I can't recall one play that he's made so far this year, and at this point, I am getting concerned and my patience is definitely wearing thin with him. Davis was a first-round pick 2 years ago, and he's supposed to be this dominant run-stuffing defensive tackle who wreaks havoc in the middle of the defensive line, but he has yet to break out, and now with him being in his 3rd year, I think it's safe to say that time is ticking on him. I mean, during this offseason, there was a ton of hype surrounding him, with him and others saying that he's in the best shape of his life, and he's ready to have this breakout season that the Eagles so desperately need him to have, yet, where has he been to start the year? I mean, again, I just can't recall any play that he's made, and the run defense is horrible so far, and he's supposed to be the anchor of it. So I also think the clock is definitely ticking on Davis, who just needs to step up and show that he can be the player that the Eagles need him to be very soon. Now, someone I am a bit more optimistic about is defensive tackle Jalen Carter, although the second-year man hasn't exactly been great to start the year either, and after the Monday night loss, he also talked about the Eagles' disappointing pass rush and his lack of production, as he said this.
It's very frustrating. No game is perfect for me. No game is good for me. I always got a higher standard for myself and what I want to do. If I have a game where I have 3 sacks, why not 6? You feel me? So that's just my mindset with it.
You gotta at least like that Carter is holding himself to a very high standard in terms of on-the-field production. And to be fair to him, I think more so than anybody on the defensive line, he's put some good film out there and had some nice moments. The problem is that he's being keyed on a lot and seeing a lot of doubles, and nobody else is really taking advantage of their one-on-one matchups, which makes it easier for offenses to just focus in on stopping him solely. But also, to be fair the other way, Carter definitely has had his fair share of bad plays, and he 100% has to be better both rushing the passer and filling gaps against the run. And something else that wasn't so good in regards to Carter is that he was actually punished by the Eagles this past week, as he was benched for the entire first series of this past game because he was late for something team-related last week, according to Jeff McClain. So that's definitely not a good look for Carter, especially when he's one of the Eagles' best defensive players and someone who they want to keep as a franchise cornerstone for years to come. So hopefully he just doesn't let it happen again. And for the Eagles' defensive line as a whole, really, I mean, there's just nothing else to say besides they just have to be better. I mean, against the run, they've been terrible, and rushing the passer, they've been non-existent, as through 2 games, they're 29th in QB hits, 27th in sacks, 28th in sack percentage, and 28th in tackles for loss. And part of their struggles have been because, similarly to last year, it seems as though they're not rushing as a unit. They're not rushing together, which is something that a couple Eagles defensive linemen pretty much admitted to, as Josh Sweat said, quote, "I don't know. We're not on the same page, man. We got to be together. Ain't on the same page. That's all I can say. We're just not rushing together." And then the veteran leader and captain, Brandon Graham, also had this to say about the pass rush.
Just, talking about it and making sure we on the same page. We got to have a cohesive rush. We got to be together. One side got to do one thing, another side got to do one, just to keep him track. It's like a triangle that you try to keep him in, just so that, he won't feel comfortable just throwing through the B gaps. And so I just know for us, we accept the challenge. Right now, we professional. We're gonna get it worked out. And I know for us, it's a challenge that we accept, and we're gonna make sure we do a better job.
I love that BG is at least trying to remain positive, but he's also right in saying that they need a cohesive pass rush where everyone's working together, and so far, similarly to last year, it just doesn't seem like the Birds have had that, so they definitely need to find a way to fix that moving forward. And then in regards to the run defense, that's arguably the even worse issue, as again, the Birds have been gashed on the ground both of these first 2 weeks, and that's been the most effective way for opposing offenses to move the ball on the Eagles defense. But it's at least nice to hear the Eagles taking ownership, as Brandon Graham also spoke about the issues with the run defense in an interview on WIP, and he made it clear that they're all taking it personal and they're hungry to fix it.
Still ain't really had a chance to really process everything. I know for us as a group, we all was talking about just things that we know we need to work on, and now this is what we got to work on. And it's 2 games in, we 1-1. I didn't like that we got ran on, like you said. It's like it was one of those days where we bowled up in the end, where we kept them out the end zone as much, and then we just dropped the ball at the end, especially in a moment where, as a defense, you want to be the last one on there to help the offense get the win, secure the win. And we can toss so many different things out there, but the main line for us is we can't have 150-yard rushing, in no games and think we're going to win. And as a defense, and that's just us challenging ourselves. And so I know what we need to work on, and I know how it goes here in Philly. It's a tough day. A lot of people burning right now, and I get it, but I know that this team, I believe in this team, man. It's about getting everything together. I mean, I know all these guys that you was naming, like Jordan Davis and them guys. I mean, I know they take it personal, because last night, just talking to JD, I know that he's like, man, my bad, I got you. A lot of people, they playing, but...
So it's at least nice to hear BG say that, and I am glad that it at least seems like the guys have the right mindset, but again, that doesn't matter unless they show it out on the field. So next week against the Saints and Alvin Kamara is going to be a real test, and Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and the guys are going to have to show that they can stop the run. And to do that, they and the Eagles as a whole are just going to have to be better in a few key aspects, and Nick Sirianni went into those in a press conference today.
It always starts with us putting the players in position to make plays, right? But after that, you got to, everything when you talk about run defense and when you talk about playing defense is going to start with, do you get off blocks, right? Can you play on their side of the line of scrimmage and get off blocks, and can you make the tackles when you get there? So, regardless of what the call is, do we have to put them in different positions and try different things? Yeah, and the defense was trying to do that. But regardless of what the call is, it's going to be how we put our hands on people, how we knock them back, how we shed that block, whether it's a cut block or whether it's an up high block. and how we tackle after that. And so we have to build on those fundamentals, and to be and I don't want that to sound like the coaches, we have to do that as coaches. We have to put them in positions as far as how to strike blocks. So there's two aspects of this, right? It's us as coaches putting them in position to make plays, but that's us also teaching them how to put their hands on blocks. And we're gonna make sure that we do our part as coaches, and the players got to do their part of executing it and when that time comes.
The Eagles are saying all the right things, but again, it just doesn't matter unless they show it on the field. So we'll see if the Eagles can get things fixed against the run soon enough. And we also see regarding the pass rush as well, and Nick Sirianni seems confident that they will eventually get on track in that area, as this morning on WIP he said, quote, "I know we have the right guys. I've seen Josh Sweat be a menace to the quarterback and Brandon Graham and Jalen Carter. I've seen Bryce Huff do it. Sometimes sacks come in bunches." So I mean, this is exactly what you would expect the head coach to say, and it doesn't really do anything to calm my or probably any of the fan base's worries about the pass rush right now, but hopefully he's right and the guys can get it figured out, or else the Eagles are gonna have to go out and add somebody, and I honestly think Howie should already be working the phones looking to make a move to acquire a new pass rusher, but we'll get into that more in a future video. And also, before we get to all the other big news that I cover in this video, I do want to say if you are enjoying this video and don't want to miss any other Eagles coverage or content coming throughout this entire season, then make sure you subscribe, and also really importantly, turn on notifications so you're notified instantly when one of these videos is uploaded. I think that's a win-win for the both of us, because not only do I get more people consistently watching these videos, but you don't miss any other Eagles coverage or content just like this. So again, subscribe, turn on notifications, and also drop a like. Let's see if we can get 800 likes on this video. And now, with all that being said, let's get back into the video. But now, getting back to Nick Sirianni and some of the decision making that he made in this game versus the Falcons, people have been very critical of the fourth-year head coach after this loss, which I do definitely understand, because coming into the season, coach was 100% on the hot seat with the way things ended last year, and this loss wasn't exactly reassuring, as it was very reminiscent of last year in the sense that they blew a late lead and made far too many mistakes. So many people have been very critical of Sirianni, as he's been ripped by a lot of Eagles fans and NFL fans since this loss, in large part because of his decision making in certain areas, with one of them being his choice to go for it on fourth down rather than kick the easy field goal in the first quarter, which I personally did not agree with, and I criticized him in my last video for it. And then there's also a large majority of people who are coming after him for the Eagles' decision to pass the ball on third down at the end of the game, which of course resulted in the Saquon Barkley drop and the clock being stopped. Now, the question is, how much of that is Sirianni actually to blame for, just considering the fact that it is Kellen Moore who calls the plays, not Nick, and Sirianni made sure to clarify that after the game when he was asked about it, as he said this.
To clarify on the calls, though, Kellen's making, that
Kellen's the offense coordinator Kellen's offense coordinator makes the calls, yeah, if you're trying to stir that up.
Yeah, so he said it there. Kellen Moore is the one who calls the plays, so theoretically that would mean that then Kellen Moore is the one fully responsible for the Eagles deciding to pass the ball rather than run it on the 3rd and 3, right? Well, not quite, because Sirianni is the head coach, and we know that he's still involved with certain situational aspects of things, and he's involved with the process throughout the week of deciding what to do in certain situations that pop up throughout a game, and he provided even more insight when he was asked about this 3rd and 3 play in a press conference today.
What third down might look like on the second to last possession specifically, the 3rd and 3, the pass. Are you talking about this is a run or a pass? How many yards we need to get in order to be willing to go for it on fourth down?
Yeah, all those things, that you talk through in that scenario, and past experiences too, like that we talked about. Like last week against Green Bay, we passed the ball in 4-minute football, a couple times to really seal that game and give it the ball back to them late. It was the same scenario here. Those conversations happened last week leading into the game. What are we going to do in this scenario here? What are we going to do in this scenario there? When are we willing to pass it? When we pass it, what are we thinking? And be ready and be willing to pass it, because we've won a game that way, and then we also have lost some games where we just were too conservative and went run in those scenarios.
So it certainly does seem like Sirianni at least had some input and say into the Eagles' decision to pass the ball in this situation. Kellen Moore was also certainly a big part of it, so I do feel like the blame should go to both of them rather than just Sirianni, who's received the brunt of it ever since this happened. And I do gotta say this. Should they have ran the ball? Yes, they 100% should have, but here's the thing about that play. I mean, if Saquon catches the ball like he would 99.9% of the time, no one is talking about this play, and we're all saying that it was a great call because it worked the way it was supposed to. Again, Saquon just didn't execute. And even if we don't fully agree, there was reason to that decision, as on WIP radio this morning, Sirianni explained why they threw it in that situation, saying, quote, "If you look at the play prior to that, the Falcons are bringing an all-out blitz up the middle. We knew it would be cleaner on the outside. There is obviously a risk to throwing it." Now look, am I saying that Sirianni and the coaches don't deserve to be criticized? Absolutely not. I mean, I completely understand it, and it is warranted. And Sirianni also does deserve to be on the hot seat right now because he's the guy at the helm, and the Eagles have fallen apart and done stuff like this for the past 10 games or so with him in charge. However, all I am saying is this year is not last year. We're just in week 2, or I guess week 3 now, so it's still very early on in the season, and let's just give it a little bit more time before we decide to hit the panic button. And I will say, one reason to be optimistic moving forward is the play of Jalen Hurts, as QB1 had an awesome performance in week 2 and was one of the best quarterbacks throughout the entire league. I mean, let's not let the interception at the end of the game overshadow what was just an awesome showing for Hurts, as throughout the game, he made some awesome throws and read the defense well for the most part, and he also proved to everyone that his elite running ability is back, as he had some awesome scrambles in key situations to pick up first downs and just keep drives moving. And overall, if you watch this game, you cannot tell me that he wasn't a difference maker, so at least things seem to be looking up for QB1. But what sucks is we don't really know the injury status of AJ Brown and how much longer, if at all, he's going to be out for, but we'll surely continue to get more updates on that as this week progresses. So if you guys don't want to miss any of that, and also just all the other Eagles coverage throughout this entire season, then again, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, and also drop a like. Again, let's see if we can hit 800 likes on this video, and also leave a comment down below to show some support. Just give me your thoughts on anything that I talked about in this video, and if you want to watch another video recapping the Eagles' loss to the Falcons, you can check this out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys, so thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.